Hi, welcome back to Devils, Saints, and Scoundrels, Part 3. Last time when we left, we were talking about Dostoevsky's idea that when we do without God, we become gods for one another. That idea needs a little explication. So, what I'd like to do is talk about my personal reaction to Dostoevsky when I first read him. I first read Notes from the Underground when I was in high school. That is a short novella-sized piece in which Dostoevsky really begins to examine this idea of of our relationships with one another. And the reason that I'm interested in this fundamentally is because the Raven Foundation is very interested in promoting the work of René Girard. And when Girard read Dostoevsky, he recognized this insight about human relationships that's particularly pronounced in Notes from Underground, and then developed into this grand epic novel in the brothers Karamazov. And Girard called it interdividuality, this as opposed to individuals. If you remember from our last session, we talked about the reality that a self does not exist in isolation from others. So individuals, the Descartesian idea, I think, therefore I am, is a grand illusion of individuality and autonomy. No one thinks in an isolated way. We're always in relationship. So how does this show up in Notes from Underground, and how did I react to it? The main character in Notes from Underground is a man who is spiteful, resentful, and prideful. And he is so dependent on what other people think of him that he hates them for his dependency on them. He just can't. He is at once acutely aware of his need for approval from everyone else, and he hates his dependency on them at the same time. So he's trapped. He's trapped within this modern rationalist way of thinking that he wants to be an autonomous individual, but he knows he isn't. And he hates himself and he hates everyone else for it. And when I read that, I was a teenager being told by my father in particular, by my teachers, that I was a unique person. You know, I was getting good grades in high school. I was in the top of my class. And I was told that I didn't need anybody. I was a unique person who would fulfill my potential somehow in the world. And I was not dependent on what anyone else thought of me. I needed to act independently and follow my whatever was inside of me that they saw that they thought was so wonderful. The problem was that as I went along for a while thinking that was kind of cool. I like being an independent person who doesn't care what anybody thinks about me. But the more I tried to do that, the more I became like the man from the underground. I realized that I was acutely dependent on what people thought about me. I needed them desperately. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be recognized as some special creation. And I became resentful. And I didn't understand what was going on till I read Notes from the Underground. And I thought, finally, someone is telling the truth about human relationships. But I realized I couldn't tell anybody that I saw myself as the underground man because the underground man's kind of crazy. And I didn't really want to admit that I was caught in the same trap of pride and resentment that the underground man was in. But it brought me to a special relationship with the author, Dostoevsky. He became the person who put language around my experience for me. And so I went on to read many of his works, and in particular fell in love with the brothers Karamazov. So what we're going to do is look a little more at the particular artistic techniques that Dostoevsky developed and brought to their culmination in the Brothers Karamazov to not only demonstrate this notion of interdividuality, but to represent it artistically. So that's what we'll look at in our next session. Thank you.